Hey everyone, it's Russ here. You are watching Logic for Newbies. Yeah. So, listen, I wanted to do a quick video on music dynamics. So there's a lot of videos out there that I've watched. Dynamics have been referred to in different forms and ways, right? Like dynamics are the instruments you add or you don't add. Dynamics can be the layering, how you layer in your mix. Dynamics can be the frequencies that you use. The mids, the highs, the lows. The dynamics can be in your mix as far as reverb, etc., etc. Okay, so I wanted to do a video on dynamics for newbies. Last night and most nights before I head to bed, I usually watch some instructional videos that help me just sort of increase my knowledge, and I listen to music. So I think the biggest thing is that if you're a creator, is you need to be a student, right? If you want to create and you want to know about dynamics, you need to be a student. And some of that's just listening to music. So I thought about dynamics last night. So the first thing I did is I watched a video by one of my favorite Logic teachers on YouTube. I won't say their name right now or whatever. I just wanted to, because it might sound like I'm dissing that person, because I don't. It's not that. It's just because that guy's a phenomenal teacher. But he was talking about dynamics, and then he portrayed it as the layers that you add on or you don't add on, and I just like. It was a really great video, but then I was just thinking, just being a newbie, like the confusion of like, okay, so I need to add strings, I need to, and then I started listening to music, and I was just listening to Ed Sheeran's Afterglow. Now, if you listen to that song, like, and you're thinking about dynamics, is that song dynamic? You may not like it, maybe not be your preference, but I really like that song. And I was listening to it, and I try to listen to music now, like sometimes just for the flavor of listening and just the beauty of it. And then like last night was just breaking it down, right? And I was listening to a song. He had layers of vocals. He had a little bit of pitch correction stuff going on, I think, a little bit of reverb, but not much instrumentation. He had a little bit of acoustic guitar, and he had a little bit of synthesizer padding going on, right? Like there wasn't like, if you're talking about dynamics of that, right? It's like, would you define that as dynamics? And I would, right? So when we're listening to music, we need to kind of picture the dynamics of, there's different things that are going on. Like, is that, a great vocalist can sing and be dynamic, and they could have nothing but their voice, right? Like, if you listen to Mariah Carey sing, it'd be just like, I can just listen to her voice, and I'm like, oh, like it's just phenomenal, right? So that's dynamic. Like the song Afterglow is referring to, it's dynamic, even though it's just an acoustic guitar, and it's kind of like this, and it gets to a chorus, and it kind of builds the sound level. But part of the dynamic in that song I found was the lyrical fluidity. There was something poetic in the where you drop your lyrics and the words that you use and the story that you're telling can make the song dynamic, and the emphasis on certain words. Right, so as you're learning music, is to listen to that part. Like what is making you can listen to a song, and if you're feeling like when you listen to a song and it just like hits you, then it's a dynamic song, right? It's still a dynamic song, even if there's not different instrument layers or whatever, and you just need to study why is that dynamic. Another song I listened to last night was the song by Chainsmokers and Coldplay. Something Just Like This. That's what it's called. And when I didn't study the music before, when I listened to it, like there's that synth part that just kicks in where it's like this musical interlude, and it's just so big, and it's like dum, 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 or whatever, and I'm just like, whoa, and without really breaking it down, for some reason in my brain I felt like there was like tons of layers, right? Like they just added on top of what already had been there. But when listening to last night, I just listened to it, and then they actually took pretty much everything out, and they just put this synthesizer, and it was just like boom, and it was strong, right? So like sometimes we think about layers when we're trying to create this big moment. It's like we think it's adding on more, and sometimes it's just adding on power, right? Like this powerful sounding instrument. and riff, right? It's a cool riff. It's, you know, that's the part too, is you can't just put any kind of musical riff in there and it's dynamic. It's the choosing of those moments of like where that note drops, the lyrical drop, the, you know, it's all those things. So I just wanted to do this video on dynamics because I wanted to encourage you as newbies, is be a student, listen to different styles of music, take it in, like when somebody emphasizes, right? I'm working with a singer who's relatively new and fresh, and she's got a beautiful voice, and sometimes she's just in her head, and I've encouraged her to feel the lyric, right? Because that changes the dynamic of the song, right? Like she has this beautiful fluid voice, and sometimes in the creativity we just think about, well, the sound needs to be good. But I've heard songs where like the pitch is off a little bit, but because they're singing with heart, it's just like I wouldn't change that moment for anything. Like you hear it and I'm just like, that song can't change, right? Like some of my favorite songs have these moments where somebody's doing like say an electric guitar solo and it's just like he hits the wrong note and man, I'm just like, that's the wrong note, but I wouldn't, that makes that song partially, you know? So yeah, just want to encourage you, right? Like don't, because I know when I had started out doing this, it's just like you get overwhelmed with all these videos, right? Talking about dynamics and frequencies and stuff like that. And I just want to encourage you to find your dynamic. You may have a great voice, you may have great instrumentation. You can break down, right? Study the music, listen to different songs. It doesn't have to, I don't mean study like theory and getting really good at an instrument. Like listen to music, right? Listen, open your ears and listen and feel, because the reason that we listen to music is because it makes us feel something, right? If it didn't make us feel something, we'd just be like whatever. But music hits us to the core. So that's dynamics. That's newbie dynamics, man. So thanks for listening, for watching. If you like what you're watching here, please subscribe. Have a good one.